Ladies and gentlemen, I ask again that you please take your seats. We're going to start momentarily. So greetings. This is our cluster on digital initiatives, and I want to begin by sending our welcome from Vienna to a group of people who, if technology hasn't failed us, are joining us in New York City at Christie's Education, organized by emerging leaders of art business, rising leaders of art business. We actually have many rising leaders of art business presenting in the next session. And if indeed we are live, then we welcome you, and thank you for joining us. We are now in the last stretch of the International Art Industry Forum. Currently, you see on the display the location of tonight's party. I'm sorry, guys, in New York, I don't think you'll make it. But for everybody else, please write it down so you know where to go. So, one second. So, I think we've covered a lot of ground in the last couple of hours, and now we are ready to move on to what I think in some ways is one of the highlights of today's conference. And clearly, when we began to think about what it means, what are the big salient issues of the art industry this year, it was immediately obvious to us that this sort of headline subject is digital. Of course, we've seen quite a number of digital initiatives emerge over the last decade, but in some ways I think that the last year or two, and in some ways this year, has been a kind of tipping point moment. There's a kind of significant mass of new ventures that have come together, of which we offer a sampling today. It's an indicative sampling. There are really dozens of ventures we could have invited, but we chose to invite a group that we feel is representative of the changes. Why are we now at this juncture? I think there are several reasons, and it would be interesting to hear the group reflect on this. But it's a moment of convergence. I think the technology has reached a point where these services, these offerings can happen. I think design, a really important piece of this, is supporting the digital innovation. And I think, at least for the time being, a number of companies have been able to secure some financing for these initiatives. We have said earlier today that it would be very important to keep today's program and keep it somewhere in our files so that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we can look back at which of these companies is still around, which of these is the next Google. I wish that for all of you. Which have since then joined forces or mutated into other ideas, but there's no question that this is really the future of the art industry. We have broken them up into sort of three groups, if you will. The first two, Artifex and Collectrium, are in some ways offering services for the art industry itself, as you'll see. The next three are in one way or another about rethinking the idea of ownership, whether it's acquisitions of digital works instead of tangible objects, whether it's the idea of a subscription model enabled by digital technology, whether it's a rental ownership model, again facilitated through technology. So rethinking the idea of ownership. And then the third cluster is really trying to imagine a whole new interface and interactions facilitated by technology between the audience and art, between customers and art. We're very lucky that we have a special person from Vienna who will lead us through this process in Andrea Jungmann, who is the head of the Sotheby's office here. So I will leave you in her able hands. But to those of you who weren't here this morning, and those of you who are in New York, although you can't see it, we have two very important tools for this presentation, a small bell and a large gong. The small bell rings at 8 minutes into each presentation, the large gong at 10 minutes, and that's how we will go through these 7 presentations in a row, and at the very end, our presenters will all come back on the stage for questions and answers. So with that, to Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you, Andras. Very kind introduction. So you said everything about the whole group, and I'm now here to present the speakers. And the first one to speak is David Grosz, managing partner and editor-in-chief of Artifex Press. Artifex kind of publishes digital Catalogue Resumes and develops a Catalogue Resume software. I think the patent is pending. When I first heard about it, I thought it's a very nice idea because it makes this buying of Catalogue Resumes and having them in the library obsolete, and I like the idea very much. And you already have very interesting and very well-known artists where you're working with, which is Chuck Close, Jim Dine, Sotheby, and Agnes Martin. I think it's great. David was previously editor-in-chief of artinfo.com and catalog editor at the Guggenheim Museum, and from 2005 to 2007 an art critic for the New York Sun. And I may ask you to present Artifex, please. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm David Grosz. I'm the managing partner and editor-in-chief of this new venture called Artifex Press. We've developed Artifex Press in close collaboration with the Pace Gallery of New York, Beijing, and London. And Mark Limsher, the president of Pace, is my partner in this company. Artifex Press is a simple idea with what we believe are far-reaching implications. Our concept begins with the publication known as the Catalogue Resume, which, as you're probably aware, is a comprehensive list of works by a leading artist. Catalogue Resume do not currently exist for every artist, but when they do, they become the Bible for every aspect of that artist's work. They're invaluable sources for both scholarship and the art market. Catalogue Resume are essential because they define the limits of an artist's market and contain key contextual information. They indicate the provenance of every single work, and most important of all, they're the market's key source for assuring authenticity. So while the Catalogue Resume is a scholarly endeavor, I'd like to emphasize that what we're doing has huge implications for the market. When a Catalogue Resume exists for a given artist, no sale happens without reference to it. But Catalogue Resume in their current form have several problems. They're expensive to produce, they're books, which means they can't be updated or corrected. They're only available for a few artists. They're extremely heavy volumes, and they're not portable to art fairs, to galleries, or exhibitions. They're printed in quite limited editions, and in some cases actually a vibrant secondary market for these books. They're not searchable, and there are no universal norms or standards. So that's where Artifex Press comes in. We're attempting to solve these problems by creating a centralized, objective source for information about leading artists. We're digitizing books, we're updating books, we're facilitating the production of new Catalogue Resume, and we're creating several new Catalogue Resume ourselves. The screenshot above is from our beta site, and it gives a glimpse of some of the first catalogs we're producing. And as was just explained, the first 4 are for Chuck Close, Jim Dine, Saul LeWitt, and Agnes Martin. I'd like to emphasize that what we're doing is not simply producing a series of individual ebooks. What we think of this instead is this is an aggregation platform with multiple catalog resume on a single platform. So we're creating a giant database of information that will allow users to compare different artists in a host of ways. So that's a bit about the concept of what we're doing. Now I'm going to talk a bit about our company, both what we do and who we are. There are two equally important aspects to our project. The first is technology, and the second is manpower, our human resources. So first, I'll talk a bit about the technology. Our software is patent pending, and you can think of it as comprising three components. First, there's a digital publishing platform. This is what produces the Catalogue Resume. The second is a research and curatorial tool. We think of this as a digital archive. Both of these pieces have been designed to be extremely flexible. We've built Artifex Press specifically with single artist catalogs in mind, but we've shown this software around the art world to galleries, to private collectors, to museums, and it's clear that its potential uses are much more widespread. The third circle above represents future applications. We've employed a flexible, document-oriented data model to enable these applications. And we're also thinking about data portability and integration with other systems. Now I'm going to go into a bit more detail about our software. The first component, as I mentioned, is a digital publishing platform. It's been custom developed using the latest technology like Ruby on Rails and MongoDB. It offers a faceted search so that users can locate and sort artworks according to a wide variety of criteria, ranging from date to medium to ownership history to current location and many more. Our system allows for a great deal of design customization so we can meet the particular needs of every single artist. They can customize homepage layout, navigation, metadata. They can customize the look and feel of artwork pages. They can create pages for individual exhibitions, for individual collectors, for individual institutions, for series of works. Our system offers enhanced technology features like full-screen views and zoom. Our catalogs are available on multiple platforms like the iPad. And most important of all, the catalogs we're producing are every bit the equal of the Catalogue Resume you already know in book form. They're accurate, they're comprehensive, and they're authoritative. All right, the second component of this software is a research curatorial tool. It's a user-friendly platform. It's web-based. It's been developed with the input of artists, studio managers, and Catalogue Resume editors. Like the publishing software, this system's extremely flexible, and data can be customized to meet individual artists' needs. We've taken great care to account for security and confidentiality concerns. We're able to store vast amounts of data, including complete libraries of print quality images. And as I've already mentioned, our data can be easily retrieved for other purposes. So this entire software package, what I've just shown you, has already been built, and I'd be happy to demonstrate it for anyone who's interested. So that's our technology. The other key component of our program is a team of art world professionals. We're a technology company, but we're also a content company, and we have a talented group who assembles this content. We're employing art publishers, web designers, and web engineers, but really the key staff members are art historians and art researchers, who include former curators at museums like MoMA and the Whitney. They gather the information, they research provenance, and they assure authenticity. Now, there's also one other key group in our team, and that's our artist collaborators. No Catalogue Resume would be possible without their close cooperation. Artifex Press works directly with living artists and their studios and with artist estates. As I've mentioned, the first 4 catalogs are for the contemporary artists Chuck Close and Jim Dine, and for the estates of Saul LeWitt and Agnes Martin. We have 7 more to follow, and we're deep in discussions with several additional leading artists in the States, and we hope to announce new partnerships in the very near future. And these relationships are really the key to the entire project. And this brings me to the conclusion. The Artifex Press concept and business model has been developed by professionals with decades of art world experience. Our project really arises from 2 key thoughts. First, that information drives the art market. And second, that artists are the key players in the art world. We believe that the Artifex Press Catalogue Resume offer obvious values to every type of art institution. For estates and auction houses, authentication. For collectors, vetted provenance. For dealers, a chance to control and assemble an artist's inventory. For museums, a flexible publishing platform. For publishers, a new source of revenue. For scholars and researchers, a dynamic and rich information source. But the heart of our project is and always has been artists. And for them, the implications are really transformative. Artifex Press allows artists new ways to build and manage a career, to store and organize data, to manage copyright, to anticipate conservation and preservation questions, and to exert greater control over their legacy than ever before. Artifex Press has really been built for artists, and they're both our partners, and they're the key to this entire endeavor. So just a few quick words on practicalities. Artifex Press is currently in an invite-only beta. In the upcoming months, we're going to launch our first complete catalogs to selected users. And let me just add, finally, I've met several people at this conference. I'm hoping to meet more. We are exploring partnerships of various types. So if anyone is intrigued by what you've heard, please be in touch. I'm eager to speak further. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thanks a lot. The next speaker is Boris Pevzner, president of Collectrium. Collectrium is, in fact, here to kind of manage your art collection, if you have one. And Boris, with this company, bridged 2 main passions in his life, which is art and technology. His background is technology, and I like the vision of Collectrium. It's to have an interconnected art world, and I really would like to hear more about that. Please. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present Collectrium to this forum. It's great to be part of this exciting lineup. I'm Boris Pevzner, president and founder of Collectrium from New York City. And let me start with a commercial. If you're planning to go back to Vienna Fair tomorrow or perhaps over the weekend, download Art Capture, which is one of our products from App Store on your Apple device. It's much more fun experiencing Art Fair with it. You can also stop by our booth and learn more about the product and everything that we have to offer. So while you're doing that, while you're downloading, let me tell you a little bit more about Collectrium. So at first approximation, if you were to go to our website and explore what we're doing, you will find out that we make art inventory management products for collectors, galleries, art fairs, and artists. And these products run in the cloud. So they run on the web, on the mobile platforms, and they support galleries and art dealers for running their business, collectors who want to organize their collections and discover new art, and art fairs that support both galleries and collectors as their clients. So, of course, it's just the beginning of the story. It doesn't end there. So the important part is that all these products, through people using all these products, we end up with a massive amount of art world data that we manage. And these are not the kind of data that you'll find in a Sotheby's annual report, as we talked about earlier in this conference. These are the data that reflect the private activity in the art market, which is about 3/4 of the total art market out there. So obviously, most of these data are completely private, and so we use them only on behalf of our clients, collectors and dealers, to better manage their collections and inventories, for which we charge a subscription, to find buying and selling opportunities, and to help them engage in a variety of service providers to help them manage their collections and inventories, insurance companies, storage companies, appraisers, etc. But on the whole, we believe that it's this data, this information, that will be the bedrock of the new and emerging business models in the art market as the market evolves over the next few years. As David pointed out a second ago, it's information that drives the art market. So we have been doing this for a little while now, for about 2 years, and we have by now secured the position as the #1 cloud-based art inventory management platform for galleries, collectors, and art fairs. If you look at our market footprint, there are about 70 international art fairs that are powered by Collectrium technology. We're used in about 4,000 of the world's fine art galleries, and we have about 100,000, a little bit more now, art collectors who use Collectrium to discover and manage art. And, all told, if you look at our database of artwork information, there are about 1 million artworks there from galleries and private collectors that we serve, and the product is globally available in 7 languages. It's really sold or offered worldwide. So in 30 seconds or less, here are some of our mobile products for art dealers and art galleries. Note that we always put our clients' brands first. So these are white label products, and all of our products run on a common technology platform, but they do carry this powered by Collectrium brand, be that a gallery brand or the art fairs brand, as you see here. And the gallery's art fairs brand is always front and center. We really want to power the art world. We don't want to promote our brand all that much when we deal with galleries, dealers, and art fairs who obviously have their own powerful brands in the art world. Of course, these products are not just mobile inventory management. They're also chock full of cool and useful features. For example, they automatically recognize, these mobile products automatically recognize any artwork that's in the inventory of the galleries and art fairs that we serve. It's always fun to talk about and even more fun to demonstrate, so stop by our booth for a demo. Some people have called this capability a Shazam for art, but it's not really just a toy. It's a very useful tool for collectors. So imagine if you're a collector going to an art fair or a gallery opening, you like certain artworks, they catch your attention. You can point your mobile device at those artworks, instantly recognize them, and bring more information about the artwork, the gallery, the artist. And then, here it is in sort of action. And then all of that information is, of course, actionable. You can start adding those artworks to favorites. You can share them and be social with your friends to let them know what you like. You can even contact the gallery and reserve those artworks right there at the show or the gallery opening. Let me now talk a little bit about our browser-based products. It's a companion product to the mobile platform on the same Collectrium platform. Also has a lot of interesting functionality. So the theme here is, can your inventory management do that? One of the things that you can see me afterwards, we have this card for a trial version of this product. It says, art inventory management can be sexy. And the question is, can your art management do that? Do what? Well, can it look at your collection as a financial portfolio over time with acquisition costs and automated currency conversion and appraised value and current market value all compared in one snapshot? Can you instantly share any group of the artworks from your collection privately and securely with your friends or with your gallery or with whomever? If you're a gallerist, can you track every artwork sent to every client at a glance? Can you, again, as a gallerist, add any portion of the artworks, any collection of the artworks that you're bringing to an art fair with a single click, which you can do with us for art fairs that we serve? Can you access your inventory with custom branded iPhone and iPad apps? You saw in the previous slide how that is done. Now, if you're a collector, You can see full provenance and history of every art object in the collection in a single screen. You can see it on the map, you can see it on a timeline, you can view the location of every piece of artwork in your collection on a map. And recently we started offering even kind of another layer on top of that, we call them smart alerts, that tell you if your collection is underinsured and automatically present a pre-approved quote from an art insurance agent, or that alert you that the market value for some of your artwork has changed and suggests that you reappraise your collection. Or if your gallery suggests which artworks you should bring to the next art fair because we know which artworks you have sold. You have been best sellers at other art fairs that you have attended. So that sounds pretty intriguing, I hope. So where is it all going? So let me try to paint a picture of that in the next, I guess, 3 minutes that I have left. How I see the art world technology ecosystem evolving. So it all starts with a secure vault that allows dealers and collectors to securely and privately store their art online. Now, it has a secure APIs for the techies here, and you know what it is. Basically, it's a portal into that secure vault that itself is secure. And needless to say, that vault lives in the cloud. So here's the cloud. And, you know, as an American politician, those of you from the US, I'm sure know this, as an American politician once said, internet is just a series of tubes. So here are these tubes, here are the pipes that connect this vault to various data services. So what are the data services? There are artworks artwork records get augmented by these services. We had price history, we had additional images, photography services, provenance records, social data like views, likes, comments. Obviously, this platform has to be reliable, so we do backups every 5 minutes, in fact. The platform has to be flexible, so we provide data reports, inventory and location reports, insurance reports, financial portfolio reports, and so on. So the bottom line is that there is a lot of data that enables the art market to function, and there are a lot of data services that need to collect, maintain, and massage this data. But that's only one half of the story, as you can see. So this data is then used in the art market on behalf of our dealers and collectors, who are the clients of ours. They're the art market players. So the financial institutions, insurance companies, storage companies would be that island in the top right. There are art fairs and exhibitions. I talked a lot about that already. There are marketplace services to publish, promote, and sell artwork. So there are a lot of companies who are playing in the art market technology ecosystem. Many of them, in fact, are here today. So really, you can think of this diagram also as a partnership ecosystem. And the question is, who is doing all the infrastructure for it, or if you will, the plumbing for it, to make sure that all of us are making progress together. And, you know, although a big chunk of this is us, Collectrium, I believe that a larger industry-wide effort around this overall architecture is needed. So that if you are an art world player, a gallery, collector, artist, art fair, you have a place in this process model to plug into. If you're a service provider, art insurance company, art finance, art storage, art appraising service, you have a place to plug in. And if you are an online marketplace, again, we have a lot of them here today, either a traditional one or an emerging one, again, there is a place here to start plugging into this, plugging your particular distribution channel into the overall market architecture. And so I see providing and advocating this infrastructure, if you will, plumbing, as our core mission at Collectrium with respect to how we serve the art market. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boris. We just now heard two businesses which reinvented the past in a way with advanced technology, and we are now moving to the second cluster in this cluster, kind of, which are businesses which rethink the idea of acquiring and owning works of art. And the first one is Sedition, and I welcome Robert Norton, who was the first CEO of Saatchi Online and from 2006 to 2009 the managing director of King.com in North America. And he's a co-founder and CEO of Sedition, which is a revolutionary new way to collect art by world's leading contemporary artists like Damien Hirst, Bill Bill, Jenny Holzer, etc. In a digital format. And may I ask you to the podium? Thank you.
You've done my talk for me, so thanks very much. It's great to be here, Andreas. Thanks for putting together such an exciting panel. It's interesting. I'm going to go to my first slide, Sedition. I'm co-founder, CEO of this company. We're the first company to exclusively deliver art in digital format. Our mission is to transform the way people experience and enjoy art. When I see things like transformation or transforming the art world, the question that automatically comes to mind is, well, what was wrong with it before? But of course, you know, art is alive. It doesn't escape the technologies and the time in which it lives in. And if you think about the art world today, it means so much to so many different types of people. We see record attendance at things like the Tate or the Damien Hirst show recently, increasing numbers of art fairs cropping up, and art conferences. The question is, where's it going? The question is, what are people interested in? Is it street art apps? Is it digital art? Is it contemporary art? Is it blockbuster exhibitions? At Sedition, we think that people are interested in the art that's relevant to them, and that they'll find their own way or their own level with regards to the art world. If you look at collecting or art in general, and speak to historians and scientists, there's an argument as to whether it's a cultural primal or biological primal. But the fact is that everybody in the course of a journey in human life will go through the experience of either creating a work of art or collecting something. So this isn't going to change as digital opportunities emerge and we spend more of our life online in front of screens. It's just going to transform. It's going to evolve. If you think about, I don't know, 100 years ago, I don't think anybody could have really imagined the idea of consuming a book or a movie in digital format. Now it's pretty much second nature. Amazon recently announced more people are reading books on a Kindle than buying books through the website. And I think that art has an opportunity to respond to the opportunities that the improvement in screen technologies offer. Share with you some interesting stats. By the end of this year, over $5 billion will be spent on virtual goods alone in the US. These are items that are used perhaps in a game, like where I was involved in the past at King.com, or a badge in a virtual kingdom, or a pink wig on an avatar. This is people expressing themselves in the digital world. Another stat, by the end of this decade, there'll be more connected mobile devices than people, almost by a factor of 2 to 1. That's counting population growth. And within the next 5 years alone, one of the most normal, recognized, loved objects in our home, the television, is going to go through a change as significant as from cathode ray tubes to flat screens, which is connected TV. And once you enter into a world of connected TV, you have additional opportunities beyond narrative, information, and entertainment for what that TV may do. Our belief at Sedition is there's a role for art in this world of emerging screen imagery. What does it mean for artists? We work with about 30 of the world's leading artists right now, from Damien Hirst, Jenny Holzer, Tracy Emin, Bill Viola, amongst others. And they increasingly are creating works specifically for digital format, in the same way that 50 or 100 years ago, artists started to really look at the opportunities that high-level printing presses started to offer, lithographs or etchings, etc. And with Sedition, we're really effectively taking the concept of the printing press, combining it with digital technology and authentication, delivering a great experience for a consumer on their screen. Enough talk. I'm going to share with you some of the works that artists are actually creating for us on the platform. I hope. Oh, that didn't seem to work on the team here. Well, you'll have to look at seditionart.com and see for yourself. What I was going to show you was Damien Hirst, Diamond Skull rotating, Tracy Emin's neon signs coming together, works by Lawrence Wiener, Matt Collishaw, Mr. Halusi, and others. Here are some images of some of, I would say, the early trailblazers, the first kind of customers that are really jerry-rigging a home solution of their purchased artworks. So these are people that are intensely proud of owning a Damien Hirst spot in digital format or Shepard Fairey digital artwork. When we launched last November, the press was quite extensive and, on the whole, incredibly positive. There were articles such as, you know, would you spend £500 on a piece of pixelated art, and other articles really highlighting the fact that artists were joining this digital revolution and what the impacts may be. We're a team of 11 people right now in the UK and 3 in San Francisco. We're also using Ruby on Rails, cloud-based, kind of good things you'd expect from a startup in the last few years, utilizing technologies that are out there. What are digital limited editions? Just like limited edition prints, these are works of art that are authenticated by the artist, they're numbered, they're signed, and they're issued in limited quantity. With sedition, it creates numerous technical challenges with regards to delivering the content securely, and that's really where the different app infrastructures from Apple to Android to Microsoft really help be able to deliver that content securely. This business would not have been possible 10 years ago. This is really made possible by app infrastructures in order to get the content delivered to you securely. The certificate of authenticity itself, the numbered, your record, is essentially what becomes a social object when you can resell that artwork and trade it in the open marketplace. These works are recorded both centrally and in the artwork. So for the still works, we license Digimark, which is a third-party technology from Seattle, which is effectively invisible watermarking. And for the video works, they have to be viewed within supported apps. Gifting is something that we never really think about when we launched the business, but now accounts for kind of close to a quarter of all our sales. So here you can see on the left-hand side, my friends, what they've added to their wish list. If they've made an interest in an artwork already through their social graph on Facebook, we can detect that. And then I get sent an email telling me when they've actually opened their artwork. So it's a nice, virtuous kind of circle, which is I send an artwork, I get an email back when my friends open it, and it's kind of that instant knowledge of how something's been received. We're over 250,000 members on Facebook. We were one of Facebook's 2 global partners to integrate with Timeline last year, which means that every single artist that you like or work that you buy is recorded on your Facebook profile, acts in a way as your social gallery. And here you can see my one with some of my works I've purchased through Sedition. It's not just all about fun and people that have never bought art before. These are the world's leading artists, and the fact that they're taking this platform seriously as a way to connect with new audiences and also create works exclusively in digital format, I think is important. It's not just my opinion, it's also leading galleries and museums out there. Both the Stavanger, the Tel Aviv Museum have bought the Sedition collection for their archives, and we recently ran editions with the Serpentine and the ICA. Earlier this week we released an edition with Garage Magazine, with Green and Dragset. We've done editions for the NSPCC with Tracy Emin. Next month we'll be doing the cover of Wallpaper of Russian artist AESNF. So this is really an evolving new platform which increasingly academic institutions, new collectors, and media partners are responding well towards. Moving forward, I'm going to share with you, I'll skip this slide a little bit, I'm going to share with you some of the interface that we'll be releasing with Samsung. So next month we'll be launching globally a smart TV app which will enable any artwork you've bought through Sedition to be enjoyed on your television. You have a vault. It's a vault of digital art, not a representation of physical art. You pair your vault in order to log in. And then here you can create an art playlist, very similar to how you create a music playlist. Enjoy the art. Just as a kind of closing note, as a kind of thank you, it's interesting, I read a couple of things in the magazines during lunch. One in Art newspaper, an article about Gagosian saying that an advisor had said that he was almost as influential as the internet in the globalization of art. Of course, it really depends on what your view of art is. What we're finding with Sedition is there's a whole new world of people out there that are interested in actually owning art at a price that they can otherwise not afford. And if you look at what's happening in the luxury good areas, we're seeing companies like Louis Vuitton with Kusama and Elm Green Jazz, or Hermes with Sugimoto and Murakami, really create collectibles inspired by art for a new generation of consumerism. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. Our next speaker is Nahema Mehta. She graduated at Columbia University in 2008 and has a master's degree in art business from the Sotheby Institute. She worked then as a portfolio manager in an emerging market art fund, and most recently launched Remba, an online collector's solution that bridges the gap between web-based access and in-person experience, which I'd like to hear more about. Thank you so much.
So, hi. Like my introduction said, my name is Nahema Mehta, and I am the founder and CEO of Remba, which is a subscription-based fine art service that I founded only a few short months ago, based on a belief that fine art should be discovered and enjoyed, not hidden away in storage. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty about what Remba is, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the inspiration. So here's a familiar scene. Acclaimed artworks lying dormant in storage. This pain point is only further aggravated by the fact that galleries and artists are continually struggling to reach and engage new collectors. So what exactly is being done about these pain points currently? Well, first, you have the brick and mortar approach. And this is gallery exhibits, art fairs, auctions, all incredibly vital to the art world ecosystem. A little shorter than the rest of the speakers, it looks like. However, the collector pain point here is simply access and time. The truth of the matter is, it takes a lot of time and a lot of connections to navigate the brick and mortar art world scene. And the sad truth is, many potential customers simply opt out of the process entirely out of frustration and intimidation. Then you have these online approaches, a lot of which we're hearing about today. And these are fantastic. They're really democratizing access, and they're also helping with the problem of showcasing inventory. However, in these situations, purchasers often have to buy artworks online, sight unseen. And this is a hard sell. As we've discussed here at the conference, there really is no substitute for experiencing art in person. So what's the solution? How do we mobilize inventory, reach new collectors, and tackle all of these different pain points efficiently? Well, we think the solution is based in figuring something out that combines the ease of web-based experience with the immediacy of in-person experience. And that's how Remba was born. So in a nutshell, Remba enables respected galleries and artists to surface stored artworks and places them directly onto the walls of Remba's hand-picked, fully insured members who discover and subscribe to works on a monthly basis. Our model, which is already cash flow positive, aims to successfully merge the online and offline experiences and act as a complement to the traditional art world practices. So why do artists and galleries find this appealing? Well, it's really simple. They know that the #1 way to get people to purchase artworks is to get them to engage with the artworks. And our subscription-based model motivates new and very difficult to reach audiences to do exactly that, incentivizing them to take the leap from simply looking to collecting. So let's get into how the process actually works. Our website was designed to guide the collector through the discovery process all the way through to the purchase decision in 3 simple steps. First, members go online and they browse an edited selection of artwork from our partnering galleries and artists. Currently, we exclusively service the New York City area, and we have intentionally debuted with a small selection of galleries and artists that offer global artworks, including South Asian leader Icon Gallery and New York Chelsea star Layla Heller Gallery. The works range in value from about $1,000 to $80,000, and each work, when you're discovering it online, is accompanied by information about the work itself, the artist, and also the gallery or studio from which the work was sourced. Once a member chooses a work they love, they can then borrow it and enjoy it on their walls by paying an accessible monthly fee. Rates begin at $50 per piece per month. And it is of utmost importance to us that this entire process is safe. And therefore, we have a professional-grade fine art insurance blanket policy that covers all of the artworks that are under subscription. It's also a white glove service, from hand delivery to professional installation, the costs of which are all steeply discounted thanks to our exclusive relationships with major fine art handlers. Finally, to make the experience as intellectually pleasing as it is aesthetically pleasing, each artwork comes to your door alongside an artist dossier, which will give you all the information you could possibly want. Step 3 is collecting and connecting. So not only do you get these artworks on your wall, but 50% of your paid subscription dues goes towards purchase. So our members are always incentivized to acquire the works that they love. This collecting process is further enhanced through our VIP programming that connects them with local galleries and artists, and I'll touch on this a little bit later. So now let's take a closer look at our offerings, our target demographic, and our economics. Here's a lovely piece that we offer by Quentin Shi. So first, our offerings. We don't curate, we vet. Now what does that mean? Well, curation done properly is fantastic, but often the word these days is thrown around and abused. So we look to art world authorities to let us know which artworks and which artists we should be displaying on our site. So all our artists have been vetted either by gallery representations, showing at major art fairs, features in corporate collections, or they've been critically acclaimed in major publications. Our target demographic is equally as desirable and falls into two buckets, individuals and corporates. Our individuals are discerning, urban, established professionals with demanding careers. And this is a demographic that artists and galleries are constantly trying to break. And we aim to capture them by alleviating the barriers to entry that traditionally keep them at bay, such as time, access, and large upfront commitments. Our corporates are high-end boutique operations, such as family offices, hedge funds, and venture funds. With regards to economics, we are in the revenue sharing business, and how that works is we take in subscription dollars through an e-commerce platform, and then we share the majority of that revenue back with the galleries and artists. We also take commission on all work sold throughout the site. Now, just a little bit on our suggested pricing model. As you can see, we suggest that the rental prices be priced at about 10 to 15% of the work's value on an annual basis, and this is billed out monthly. But we are, as you can see by the cost curve, very cognizant of initial collectors' sensitivity to price, as well as galleries and artists' sensitivity to their higher level works that they're lending out. Now finally, what is our long-term strategy with Remba? Well, our strategy is local. And what we mean by this is that we are not interested in shipping works from New York to London. Instead, we really want to create engaged, high-quality communities within each city that we operate in. We do this not only through our subscription service, but also through VIP programming, such as passes to Art Market Hamptons, something we currently gave our members recently, gallery tours and private viewings, and artist studio visits. So what's next? Looking ahead, we have a lot of exciting things in the pipeline, all of which we're delighted to share with you if anybody wants to talk further about the program. But what we're most excited about is the fact that we're thrilled to announce that we'll be donating a portion of our profits to arts institutions that are loved by us and our partnering artists and galleries, all tying back into the idea that we're looking to build sustainable communities and get everyone engaged with their art worlds in an accessible manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your quick presentation, Nahema. We now go from acquiring art to renting art, and you can do that with Artsicle. And I asked Dan Teran here to the podium, who is the artist community manager and curator of Artsicle, which was launched in March 2011. Please tell us more. Thank you.
Thank you. As she said, I'm Dan Teran, and I'm the Artist Community Manager at Artsicle. We're a New York-based tech startup. It's an honor to be here and to share the stage with such an entrepreneurial bunch. Fortunately, given the fact that we've had extensive discussions this morning, I can spare you the part where I lecture you about the fact that the art market is large and growing, and at the highest end of the market, times are good. It's also no secret that the sector of the market that has weathered disparate financial conditions isn't necessarily a tide that raises all ships. In the past several years, sales in the primary market for unproven artists have slid and galleries have closed. Artists today are indeed facing tough times, but fortunately that's not the end of the story, or at least we don't think so. Skates identifies a $10 billion segment of the art market that doesn't make an appearance at evening auction, it doesn't purchase a piece off the wall at Gagosian, but instead it represents a segment of consumers spending purely in pursuit of art and culture. This broad-based consumer spending represents an innate interest in art and culture that transcends the conventional art market. We believe it may suggest that the market's bigger than we think. Although it comprises a small portion of the global art market today, Skates expects that it will grow substantially in the coming years, and we at Artsicle tend to agree. At Artsicle, we think there might be another art market. We look at the fact that Americans spend $42 billion annually on decor, non-art decor, to cover their walls, and we see a tremendous opportunity for artists. Excuse me, I'm a little taller than the previous speaker. We look at the fact that 68% of Americans agree with the statement that a home can't truly be decorated without art, and we really wonder why only 20% own original. We look at 50 million people every year that pay museum admissions that share the same aspirations to high culture as their friends at evening auction, and we wonder what would happen if they were genuinely engaged in the commerce of art. So what's the challenge? Well, we believe the problems exist both for buyers and for sellers. On the artist side, artists fundamentally lack channels to sell original work. We're not talking about represented artists, we're talking about the majority of artists who don't have representation. Of the 80,000 artists that work in New York and London, over half of them will have to find jobs outside the art market by the time they turn 30, and we don't think the art market really benefits from that. They don't really have a customer acquisition strategy, and short of open studios, group shows, close friends, and indulgent relatives, it's difficult to sell work. On the buyer side, the problem is much the same. Most buyers don't have an art advisor or an art degree, and they don't have a six-figure budget for wall coverings. They lack access to original, affordable art. So what's the solution? We believe it's Artsicle. Artsicle is an online discovering tool for emerging art that presents a large curated collection of today's emerging art to a broad audience of first-time buyers, new collectors, and corporate clients. And the formula you see here is artist, content, discovery, and rentals. You may think it's sort of a similar business to the one you just heard, and indeed, Artsicle has been doing rentals for about the last year and a half, and we think that it might be a way to get some more people into the art market. We currently work with over 100 artists in the New York area, directly with artists and not with galleries. To say that there is no typical Artsicle artist isn't simply a neat cliche. They range in age from their 20s to their 70s, and in experience from freshly minted MFAs to former Warhol Factory superstars. Our artists are chosen based on their professionalism and the quality of their work. Similar to what Nahema has mentioned, we try to take ourselves out of the role of tastemaker in our curation. It's not so much curation as it is vetting, and the focus is making sure that the collection is high quality enough that our clients can rely on it, and that our artists are proud to be a part of it. We make a strong effort to develop personal relationships with all of our artists, and as a result, the word of mouth is great, and we find that we're really building a community of artists that hasn't existed before. Since the beginning, we knew that artists were going to be at the center of the business, and when you're working with so many incredible artists, there comes a tremendous opportunity to create compelling editorial and creative content, and we're able to use that as a method to both introduce users who are sitting on their computer across the country to our artists and help them get to know them, and then also to try to use our means to improve art literacy and to teach our audience a little bit about art. We also use content to help create some context around the artworks. We invite guest curators to put a professional lens on the collection, and as a result, we boost our users' confidence. Now, if our goal is to create a collection that's large enough to really accommodate all tastes, then there better be a good way to drill down at individual user preferences. At Artsicle, we developed a custom machine learning algorithm that helps our users find what they're looking for. When they first create an account on the site, they take a brief, visually cued quiz so that the experience is customized from the beginning, and it only gets better as they continue to interface. This is one example of how users can continue to express their preferences. It's called the Discovery Game, and it will pull 2 pieces at random from the collection, and they simply pick which one they prefer. Artworks are then displayed in an infinite field of artworks ranked for user preference. In theory, you could scroll for hours until you reach the bottom of the collection, but our hope is that you would have found something that you would have liked by then. We've been referred to in the press multiple times as the Netflix for art, which although is not something we encourage, the rental model is where that comes from. Our customers are not your typical art world customers, and indeed we're trying to engage a new generation of collectors. We know a few things about them. We know they lack confidence and they lack income. They want flexibility and a way to dip their toes into the waters of collecting without an expensive commitment that they might otherwise regret. We feel that rentals are the way to address that. And indeed, 20% of the artwork that we send out for rental ends up getting purchased. Beyond that, a significant portion of the artwork that we've sent out in the past year continues to be rented. The average rental period is about 6 months, but there's still people that have been renting since day one because they appreciate the flexibility. And the best part about rentals is we're paying artists every month. We've managed to create a dependable recurring revenue stream for artists like they've never seen before. And in many cases, our artists are getting a check from us every month that goes to pay for their studios. And it's something that they tell us they've never experienced. So what's next for us? Our goal is to create a sustainable art market that favors artists and creates lasting patrons of the arts. I think most people in this room would agree that when you own original, unique work, you form a connection to the arts that's unlike any other. Our vision for a consumer art market converts consumers of decor into collectors of art. We believe that that would benefit artists and grow the global art market. The greatest difficulty we face as a company is that we're not competing for a share of an existing market, but instead we're trying to build a new one. The case for a consumer art market is clear. We can see in the data that people have an innate interest in art. They're willing to spend as an expression of these values, and they're already spending a ton of money on things that go on their walls. Now, connecting these dots in a way that benefits artists and grows the global art market may not be easy, but we believe that it's attainable now more than ever. And I think it's become clear through conversations today that a lot of people believe that the rise of a consumer art market is going to happen one way or the other. And the question that we stand to answer is it going to come from the top down with the art market representing artists to appeal to a consumer class, or is it going to come from the bottom up with places like Home Goods and Crate and Barrel selling what essentially is decor and dressing it up as art? And we hope that we can find a way to create a consumer art market that truly does benefit living, working artists today. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. We now come to the last 2 presentations of this cluster. The next 2 businesses are about creating a new interface between art and its audience. And the first one is ArtStack, kind of a social platform for art. And I welcome Ezra Konvitz. Here it's non-profit. I'd like to hear more about that. You were before in the Serpentine Gallery and Bain Company, and now tell us more about ArtStack. Thank you.
So my name is Ezra Konvitz, and I'm the co-founder of ArtStack. ArtStack is the social platform for art. So some of you might be wondering what exactly that means, and I think the key thing to focus on here is the word social. Social is something that is more than just sharing to Facebook, it's more than just sharing to Pinterest. It's obviously kind of a hot topic right now, but the idea of social is, what we're doing is we're actually creating something that's the Facebook for art, or the Twitter for art. It's by definition about people, and I think art has always been about people. If you think about it, people have always recommended works to one another. Either an artist has created something that he wants to communicate, or he's been advocated by a curator or a gallery, by a collector, somebody putting something on their wall, by a friend telling you to go and see an exhibition, or just having a book on their coffee table, you know? Just a way to see things, I think, that's through people is a really important feature of the world today, and I'll just show you kind of a little bit how we think about things. We think that the best way to discover art is through people. So here you have a little bit of a snapshot of the feed there. Each person has their own personalized feed on ArtStack. It's dependent on who you follow, the people who you find interesting. They might be your friends, they might be curators, artists. You can see here Carter Mull, an LA-based artist, really interesting guy. What's really exciting here is you see some works by Carter Mull. You also see some works that Carter Mull thinks are interesting. And what I really like in the center there is actually you have a view of Carter Mull's studio. So you're seeing things that you would never actually normally get a chance to see. And what tells me that ArtStack works is that every day that I use it, I see something I've never seen before, either by an artist that I knew, or I discover a new artist that I've never come across. And I think, you know, that really cuts to the crux of what we're trying to do with ArtStack. It's really about discovering new art. I used to work, as Andrea mentioned, at the Serpentine Gallery. One of the things I always found difficult was seeing new art, discovering things. If you knew what you were looking for, you could Google it, you could search for it. If you don't know what you're looking for, the internet is actually a really challenging place because you don't know how to find something that you don't know. And ArtStack tries to solve that problem. I think the other thing that's really interesting is the idea that art is about communicating, it's about sharing, it's about people being able to say, you know, here's an idea, here's something beautiful, here's something that's inspiring. That's something that I'm really happy about, is that people who I talk to say, I use ArtStack for 20 minutes before I go to bed. It's just an inspiring little moment. Two people recently at galleries, just friends, different galleries, major galleries, told me that they discovered works on ArtStack and presented the artists to their gallery. I think that's a really interesting thing, that people are using this professionally. Curators, gallerists, people around the art world are actually using ArtStack to find artists that they think are worth sharing with other people. What's really great is all the work is user-generated content. So, like some of the other people today, we have iPhone apps, iPad apps. You can share a photo, you know, at the Vienna Fair, for instance. You can download the ArtStack iPhone app and simply take a photo. It's a very natural thing. People like to take photos of art that they like. People also can add content from around the internet. They can add video. They can add any image really online. And people are very, very proud of their profiles. So it's interesting. We find a lot of people spend a lot of time looking at their own profiles. We've tried to make them look very visually appealing. You know, we want them to be places that people enjoy. You know, it's the art you like, right? So there's a cover photo there. You can see Abdullah Al-Turki here with his great, I think that's probably his Facebook photo. It plugs into Facebook as well if you want. He's based in Riyadh in London. It's a very international network. We're in, I think, 130 different countries. You can see he's added 22 things. He's commented once. He's stacked 233 times. He has a lot of followers. He's following some interesting artists. Sort of brief technical note, when you stack something, what we call stack, you also follow the artist. So you'll see every time another work by that artist is added to the site. You can get an email if you want. So it's a great way to stay in touch with the art that you care about. It's a great way to see more of the work by those artists. And what's interesting about what people are doing on their profiles, they're adding not only good quality content in terms of really great artworks, a lot contemporary, but a lot much older. They're also adding really high resolution images. They're adding the right data against it. So they're saying, it's by this artist, this is the title. If you don't know the title, often they'll write unknown, and then afterwards somebody else will come back and say, oh, by the way, it's this. So it's a good way of learning the things that you're interested in, what they are. And also there's a labeling system, which I'll come to in a moment, which means that people can see more work from whatever it is, 1984, or the Met Museum, or painting, or artists from France. Sort of moving on, you can see here just very quickly, this is an artwork page on ArtStack, and the idea here is that, again, it's very, very large images. It's, one of the interesting things about something like Facebook, you can actually do a lot of what we do in some ways on other social networks. It's not like we've reinvented the wheel. What we've done is we've sort of put the wheel together in a different way. One thing on Facebook is, of course, the images are usually compressed. You have much smaller images. You don't have the data that we have, so a lot of people have talked about data today, but obviously everything here is classified, so you can see this is a work by Christian Jankowski. You can then go and see all the other work by Christian Jankowski. I can also see who found this work, who else likes it. When I look at who likes that work, if I like it, maybe I'll also be interested in what else they like. That's the kind of the crux of what ArtStack is about. And what I like here is you can see that somebody asked a question about this work. Some of you might have been at Frieze last year. This is the boat, the famous boat, the finest art on water. As you can see, Roland Manthorpe here said Jankowski was offering it for 500,000 euros as a boat, or 625,000 as an artwork. And he wanted to know, what happened there. And what's really cool here, what I think is, fascinating, is that the curator of that exhibition, Sarah McRory, curator of Frieze Projects, responded to him. And you can see her comment was voted to the top, and there's a response there. And she said, well, actually, there's interest in it from both sides, as a boat and as an artwork. And then you can see down below, and actually there's more comments underneath this, there's a little debate about, hey, what does this mean? And again, people have commented in really meaningful ways. People say interesting things. And I think that's partly a nature of, that pride that they have in their profiles. It's partly because it is a social network. I don't like network. It's a social platform. People aren't networking on the site. It's not like LinkedIn in that respect. It's not about kind of finding somebody and sending them a message. What's interesting here is that people don't obviously want to embarrass themselves, right? They don't say, oh, I like this, or something kind of inane. People actually tend to add really good comments that are interesting that you want to see. Just quickly here, you can see this is, seeing art through people, some of the people on the site. This is just somebody's feed, followers. And the community is global. We think about art as something that is not just about artists. That's absolutely key. It's also about curators. It's about other professionals, people who work at galleries, at museums, students, emerging people, be they curators, collectors, people from really every walk of life who are passionate about art. We've also launched the site in Chinese. China is one of our, I think it's our third largest group of users. So we think it's really important to think about kind of art from every one of those different angles. And very much, I think, an interesting thing about, we've talked a little bit today about the democratizing of the art world. That's really something that I think is important. The internet is about doing things socially, and art is something that's innately social. So finding the ways that people can share in this way, and that you don't have to be a famous curator, you don't have to be a famous artist or critic to have a voice. Each person can have that experience. I think that's really important. You can see here some of the recent things that we've done. People who work at museums and galleries were saying to me actually that they wanted to have ways that they could share the work from their gallery or museum, not on their profile. They would, a lot of the time you'd see somebody would be stacking, they'd often stack the things that they represent, and then they'd say, you know what, you'd see either they would crack, they would start to stack something else, or they told me they wanted to have a way of sharing the content from the artists they represent, or the museums wanted to share their most recent show. They wanted to have a social way that people could engage, and also a way that their works could take on this viral quality. So a lot of the time, people wanted to have that reach I think that's a really important aspect of what we're doing. I'll be brief, but very interestingly, a lot of the time, people want to look online, the data all says this, to have an offline interaction, and that's really what we're trying to do. We're not trying to replace that offline interaction. We're trying to create the online queue to engage with art, and that's a little bit what that institutional page is about. Very quickly, you can see a little bit what we're doing, and if you want to sign up, you can download the app, it's free, or you can use the link, which is also on these little cards. Thanks.
Thanks, Ezra. Our last speaker is Sebastian Cwilich, CEO of Art.sy. He previously was an executive at Christie's and the director at Horn Benison. Also the founder and chairman of Project Art, an international non-profit art school for young emerging artists. And you will tell us now more about Art.sy. I hope I spell it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea, and really inspiring to get to be part of this group. So I think I want to start, one of the things we've been talking about a lot today is kind of what the vision is and the transformation that will go on in the art world. And I think at yesterday's session, James from Google captured one of the issues very well when he said that we want to kind of, in the online space, maintain this aura around art while also providing greater access. And so, put a slightly different way, we want the access of this, but the sophistication and the aura of this. And so, what I want to talk a little bit about, which I think is very central, is how do we create this in the digital space? I think a lot of the ideas that we've talked about today, I think probably all of the ones with my fellow panelists, I very much agree with. I think the model of creating this artist-centered community is fantastic. I think what Ezra is doing with ArtStack and the social layer is absolutely important, and there is no kind of large website now where social isn't a very important component. But I want to talk a little bit about the approach to how we believe this gets created. And I think it actually has a lot to do with the high Renaissance ideal of bringing together art and science. There was one of the panelists yesterday that was talking about how museums, it's no longer about star architects. And I think in the digital realm, it's not about architects at all, but it's about the top engineers and designers. And very specifically, it means convincing the people who are traditionally at Google or Facebook or Twitter or Square or IDEO or Apple, so convincing those designers and top engineers to come and work on creating art technology. And so this is what that means at Artsy. And so essentially here you have Sergey, who is a computer vision expert from Berkeley, working with Natalie and Jessica, who are a former Hans-Ulrich Obrist researcher and an art historian from the IFA. Unless it seems that it's trite, this is just a conversation from this morning's email where we have, I believe it's Jessica, going back and forth with Orta about how to use regular expressions to create automated genes on Artsy. And so this idea of really close collaboration between world-class engineers and designers and leading art professionals and art historians, we think is really important, and it's something that has happened in every other industry, the embrace of kind of top technical talent, and we think it's something really important for the art world. So what specifically are we creating at Artsy? So because we agree very much with some of the previous panelists talking about the intimidation of the art world, the lack of education, the lack of access. One of the core things we began with is the Art Genome Project, which is essentially this collaboration of engineers and designers with leading art professionals, art historians, to create essentially a mapping between works of art. And it's worth, if you go quickly here, this is essentially applying new technology to an idea that's been around in education for quite some time. This is Alfred Barr's famous diagram. And here, going back to Artsy, we see a Calder work and essentially kind of jumping off points for other works you might be interested in. But very importantly, because this is curated by art historians and it's not kind of Amazon kind of recommendations, if you like this, you will like that. You can actually on Artsy go and look at the genes and say, okay, this is mid-century American sculpture, and this is the reason that it's connected to this other mid-century American sculpture. And so as you are hopefully going through this kind of engaging and intuitive experience, you are also having an opportunity to learn about the art. Now, Andres asked me to please not just give a spiel and also talk about some new things. So one of the things we've been rolling out, and I think very relevant to the last conversation, is we've been putting together a network at Artsy of 300 of the leading galleries and soon to be many museums that are contributing their art to this platform. And it's worth mentioning, it's a platform which has every single work on the platform is contributed by the rights holders. And so with this information here, I think Ezra made a very compelling case that there needs to be a kind of social layer around it. And so this is something that we'll be introducing as well, which is essentially a way for individuals to engage with art on Artsy and to have conversations about it. So this is one portion of what Artsy does, and it's essentially bringing together engineers, developers, designers, art historians to create for users what we hope is an engaging, educational, intuitive way to discover art, learn about art, and eventually collect art. But on the other side, there's, kind of how do you solve this chicken and egg problem? The chicken and egg problem being you need to create a large audience, but the large audience doesn't come unless you have a lot of the art. And so how do you convince the quite fragmented art world to contribute this art? And so the model that we think of is essentially the Bloomberg terminal. In addition to creating this experience for users, we also believe in creating tools for dealers that will allow them to solve both kind of short-term problems and longer-term problems. For those, I imagine in this audience almost everyone is familiar, but essentially the Bloomberg terminal is what every finance person uses to communicate with others, to reach both clients, colleagues, partners. And so Artsy views that as a model for the kinds of tools we are creating for art industry professionals. And so some examples of those tools, we have a Folio iPad app, which is again kind of bringing together the best designers and engineers to create a presentation tool for dealers to use, whether it's at an art fair, client meetings, etc. We have Artsy Analytics, which is essentially allowing dealers and eventually museums to see how their works are performing on Artsy. And so it's a kind of Google Analytics for the art world, if you will, and hopefully allowing what is often a very kind of intuition-driven decision. So should I take this Anselm Kiefer work to Art Hong Kong, or should I take it to Art Basel, or should I take it to Miami, or should I take it to Frieze? Allowing you to use data to help support those decisions as well. And there's obvious parallels for museum exhibition planning, etc. And then maybe finally I will leave on this note, which is Artsy is very much a project under construction, but I think one of the absolutely key things, I think certainly at Artsy and for the other industry as a whole, is essentially the need to give power to the nerds, to put it a little kind of humorously. Every industry has done it, right? Engineering companies like Google, Apple, Facebook have given over power to the technical people. And I think finance, it's increasingly happening in private equity, in PE shops. But I think in the art world, we've been very slow to embrace it. I think there is, every museum has a digital strategy, but there's very few places, say, like Dallas Art Museum, where Max has made his deputy director a PhD computer scientist. And I think there's real importance of really bringing in technical people, product-focused people, designers, and putting them at the heart of trying to create what is not a kind of feature-centric approach to art technology and art software, but rather a user experience-centric approach. So with that, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Sebastian, and again, excuse my misspelling of Artsy. I'm so sorry. We now will have 10 minutes of question and answers. We are a little bit delayed, so we will have a shorter break afterwards. And so, but we now have 10 minutes for question and answers. Any questions to the speakers?
Hello. Thank you for the presentation. It was really eye-opening, and it's very exciting to see each one of you kind of taking different approaches to problems that we've experienced over the past decades in the art world. This is still a relatively new area for the art world, and there's overlap in sort of giving power to artists to find new ways of selling their work, to give galleries a more global exposure without going to the brick and mortar kind of route. As there's a proliferation of new ideas, do you see any trends in kind of standardization and common practices that you think will stick? This is sort of the MySpace versus Facebook versus other social platforms. You kind of see the same DNA kind of happening. So where's the direction? Who's going to survive, and what's going to get us there?
Who wants to answer? What are the trends for the future? I think you have to switch on your whatever.
I think Sebastian just hit on a lot of it. I think a lot of our companies take the focus of put the engineers in charge or put the people who do user experience in charge, because if we can't present art in a way that is both engaging and exciting for users to interface with, we're not going to reach the market that we want to reach and that we need to reach to make any of these ventures worthwhile. So I think one of the threads that kind of is woven through all of our disparate ventures is a really solid user experience, which you can't really have it without it.
I guess I would agree with that in terms of user experience is absolutely key. The design of any website that is successful across any industry, I think, relies on that. I would, from our perspective, hesitate to say that I think that a technology-driven experience is necessarily sort of a unifying factor in terms of our ArtStack is really actually about people. It's about people engaging with other people, and that social model, I think, has been proven across a lot of different industries, and so I'd hesitate to go down that sort of technology angle, but I would agree with the user experience angle.
I think there are a few clues. I think it's clear that for the world of unrepresented artists, sites like Fine Art America, Saatchi Online are beginning to have real traction, real revenues there. And I see kind of more of that where the artist is effectively being given tools to basically market their work more efficiently using the web. And the second area, I suppose, kind of ties into that is this kind of customization, print on demand, which we're seeing increasingly kind of being used. So kind of mass personalization, customization, tools for artists to reach new audiences. And then I think there's this challenge of discovery, right? You know, whether you look at it from a social point of view or from a genome point of view, I think that's still a big challenge, which we'll all be kind of working towards.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to add anything too new here. I do think, to respond to Ezra, I think there's probably a lot of stats, and I think in the kind of discovery platform, right, there is the kind of curatorial approach, there is social approach, there's potentially like computer vision type approaches, there is approaches which are semantic, looking at what curators have put together, which artists in the past or what art critics have written about in the past. And I think the kind of technology underpinnings of all that are very important as a kind of infrastructure to allow kind of a great seamless user experience. So you're not seeing the technology, but in the same way that when you go to any kind of really successful mass audience website in other industries, the technology is kind of beneath the surface and enabling that kind of great user experience.
I think there is a consumer front end, or the consumer end to it, which has been covered. I think there is also the business to business, the B2B end to the questions about standardization, and I tried to paint a picture the best I could, and my last slide in my presentation for how that might evolve. Just speaking a little bit from a personal experience, my previous company was actually building large ERP systems. For those who don't know what those are, it's the systems that run large companies and sometimes entire industries. You know, we had oil and gas, British Petroleum, for instance, clients. We had financial services clients. We had, railroads, big companies. And really, the high-level goal when you build a technology platform for an industry is always sort of the same. It's to increase market velocity, move more product faster, better, with less friction. And the design of such a system also always has two components. The first one is understanding the market players and their needs, and then the second one is understanding the process by which those players interact. So applying this to the art market, while art is certainly a very special type of asset, which we all love and appreciate and treasure, the art market, while it certainly has its idiosyncrasies, it's not really that special. It's just very immature from the process point of view. And really introducing the process maturity, I don't think would be any different in this industry than in any other. It just needs to be done, and hopefully we can all work together on making it happen.
Well, I certainly agree with a lot of what's been said up until now about a technology-driven focus, and also when you're dealing with a visual medium like art, obviously, the design and the user experience is obviously hugely important. That said, I also agree with, I think, a point that Boris was kind of getting at. I think there's a question of whether all of us are different starting points moving toward the same eventual product, or if in fact there is room for lots of different companies doing very different things. So is this just a question of a sort of MySpace and a Facebook, and one will win out and the other won't, or is this in fact a moment where it's the beginning of potentially a series of very diverse digital offerings in the art world?
Wow, as the last person, I feel like I need to say something mind-blowing, but from my point of view, I really think that the common thread between all of us is that we're all trying to create a new type of access for people. And this is touching on what you were saying, that perhaps there are different ways in which this access can be given and received. And I think, to go to your point, who will survive? The audience has to tell us. What are they actually taking in? Which tools that we're providing do they actually find the most intriguing and the most useful when collecting art? Because at the end of the day, all of us are about access and discovery at the core. So I suppose you have the answer more than we do.
Thank you so much, you all. This was a perfect conclusion to everything. I have nothing else to say, but does anyone have another question? One more. One more, that's the last one, and then we have 5 minutes break. Sorry, I think we have to stop it, yeah?
This is Anders Peterson from Artsy. I just have regarding the first session, which was all about art investment, and today what you talked about is a lot about opening, I guess, the doors for new buyers to enter into the market experiential. I mean, how do you see, if you take the investment angle, I mean, is there anything that prevents people from saying, well, why can they invest in something that costs, for example, $50 or £50, and create a market for these? I mean, could you see that that the market moves the way that what you're looking at is moving towards an investment market, where people that cannot maybe engage in the 1 million plus market can start to engage through these kind of digital platforms? I just want to add that, whoever wants to answer that question.
Well, I can just start out from my personal perspective with what Remba is trying to do. We really think that the key to investing in art is being educated about the market. And that's what we're trying to do with our model, is put the artwork in your home alongside a lot of literature to have you develop your taste and you understand what's the right investment for you and how it fits into your life. And that's just personally how our model works, but I'm sure we have a lot of different.
I think, as they said, this is a start getting into art, getting introduced to art, and I think it's a good start to maybe collect something which then later on has some financial return. I mean, I think, do you all agree somehow? Yeah? Thank you so much. I think we should stop now because we're really delayed. I'm really sorry to be rude. So 5 minutes, it's just 5 minutes, and then we're back here for the last panel. Thank you.